All right, so you want to know about Masters in Management programs in France?
MIM programs?
Right, MIM, and you want to know, like, everything?
Thoroughly.
Yeah, but you also don't want to, like, wade through a ton of, you know,
Article.
yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you've come to the right place because we've done all that for you.
Exactly.
We've got all the guides and articles, expert opinions, everything you could need.
all condensed
Yeah, and we're going to distill it
into the most
into like the most important stuff.
crucial elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, if you were thinking about doing in MIM in France,
This is your shortcut
yeah, this is it.
to figuring out if it's the right move.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, so France.
why France? France is really a powerhouse globally when it comes to business education.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people might think, oh, it's just because the schools have a good reputation.
Yeah, but it's way more than that. It's the reputation and then the actual opportunities that are there.
Right, like the jobs.
Yeah, exactly. The jobs.
The jobs.
Mhm.
And, you know, a really important point that comes up over and over again is the access to the European job market.
That's huge.
Yeah, you're not just studying in France. You're kind of setting yourself up for a career across Europe.
Right, you're in the EU.
Yeah,
Okay, so for people who are thinking internationally, that is a
huge plus.
a
50
huge
draw.
draw, a major draw.
Okay, so let's talk about the top schools.
Okay.
The names that always seem to come up.
Yeah, the big ones.
And for good reason.
For very good reason. Yeah, HEC Paris, SC Business School.
Yeah.
ESCP Business School, EGHEC, and Schema Business School.
And, you know, we see HEC Paris. I feel like that's always at the top of these conversations.
It's consistently ranked very highly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Financial Times in 2024 ranked their midline program #1.
Wow.
And something that our sources really emphasize is they have like unbeatable alumni relationships.
Okay, so what does that even mean, unbeatable alumni relationships?
It's like the alumni network is so strong and so dense in all these different industries,
Yep.
and they really actively mentor and recruit current students.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's data out there that suggests that a lot of HEC grads get hired through their alumni network.
Wow. So it's like a built-in network.
Yeah, like a huge leg up.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about ACC? What are they known for?
ECC is really big on global exposure and like hands-on learning.
Okay.
So they have all these like flexible learning paths. You can do apprenticeships, internships.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you're getting real experience while you're studying.
Yeah, not just stuck in the classroom.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. ESCP, what's their deal?
ESCP, they have this really unique thing where they have multiple campuses across Europe.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually like study in different countries as part of your program.
So you could live in different places.
Yeah, exactly.
Like really get that international experience.
That's awesome. Okay, EDHCC, what about them?
EDHEC is really focused on data-driven decision-making.
Oh, okay.
Like really equipping you with those skills.
Yeah, very useful and leadership.
Okay.
They're really big on leadership development, and they're also particularly strong in finance.
Oh, finance. Okay.
Yeah,
So if someone's thinking about a career in finance, that's a good one to look at.
definitely.
Okay, and then last but not least, Schema.
Schema, yeah, they're all about tech.
Okay.
So they have a lot of like digitally driven courses, specializations, and things like AI and data analytics.
So very cutting edge.
Yeah, they're really looking to the future of business.
Okay, cool. And all of these schools, we should mention,
Yes.
have those important accreditations.
Oh, yeah, ACSB EQS.
Okay, so can you just remind us briefly what those mean?
Sure, yeah, so those are like globally recognized accreditations.
Okay.
It means that the school has met a certain standard of quality.
Okay.
So like their curriculum, their faculty, their research, it's all been vetted.
So it's like a stamp of approval.
Exactly, a stamp of approval.
Okay, cool. So let's say you're like, okay, France, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I've got some schools in mind.
Yep.
What do I need to get in?
Okay, so the basics pretty consistent across the board.
Okay.
You're going to need a bachelor's degree that's like a 3 or 4 year diploma from a recognized university.
Okay.
Pretty standard.
What about those standardized tests?
Yes, the GMAT and the GRE.
Yeah, do you always need those?
It's not a universal requirement. Some schools require it, some don't.
Okay.
So you definitely have to check the specific requirements for each program.
Okay.
But if you're aiming for the top programs, you probably want to have a good GMAT score.
Okay. What's a good GMAT score?
Like over 600 would be a good target.
Okay. 600 plus.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. What if my undergrad wasn't in English?
Yeah, if your undergraduate degree wasn't taught in English, then you're going to need to take an English language proficiency test.
Oh.
Something like IELTS or TOEFL.
Okay. And what kind of scores do you need for those?
That varies by the school.
Okay.
So again, check the specific requirements.
Check the requirements.
Got it.
Um, okay, so unlike an MBA, work experience isn't really a must-have for these programs, right?
Yeah, that's one of the big differences between MIM and MBA.
Okay.
You don't necessarily need years of work experience to get into an ME program.
Okay.
They're often designed for people who are like recently graduated.
Got it.
But of course, if you do have some relevant experience like internships,
Yeah.
that can definitely strengthen your application,
Okay.
make you stand out.
All right, and then we get into the, more personal part of the application.
The essays.
Yeah, the essays and
Yeah,
potentially interviews. So
exactly.
what kind of essays are we talking about here?
You're typically going to need to write a statement of purpose.
Okay.
Sometimes it's called
Yeah.
a declaration of purpose. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Basically, you're explaining why you want to do this MIM, why this specific program, what your goals are,
Obviously.
all that good stuff.
So they're really looking to understand you as a person.
Yeah, your motivations, your aspirations. And then some schools will also have individual interviews.
Okay, and are those like in person or?
Could be in person, could be remote.
Yeah.
Depends on the school.
All right, so they're really looking at the whole picture here.
Exactly, holistic review.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's talk about money.
Okay. The financial side of things?
Yes, because, we're talking about going to another country
Right.
to study.
Yeah.
So what kind of costs are we looking at?
Okay, so one of the nice things about France is that it tends to be more affordable than, say, the US or the UK.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so tuition for a full MIM program can range from about 15,000 euros to 40,000 euros
Okay.
for the whole program.
That's not per year.
No, that's for the whole thing.
Okay, because I know sometimes people see numbers like that. They think that's per year.
Right, yeah, no, this is for the entire,
Whole program.
the whole shebang.
Yeah, but again, it can vary.
Right,
So always double check
yeah,
with the school.
always double check.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about living expenses? So monthly living expenses, you're probably looking at around 800 to 1,500 euros per month.
Okay.
That's for things like your accommodation, food transportation, all that.
Okay, and I imagine that varies depending on where you are.
Of course. Yeah, if you're in Paris
Upgraded.
or Lyon,
Yeah.
you're going to be paying more than if you're in a smaller city.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, are there scholarships available?
Yes, there are actually quite a few scholarships available for international students.
Well, it's good to know.
Yeah, a lot of institutions and organizations offer merit-based scholarships.
Okay.
So if you have strong academics, good test scores, you have a good chance.
Okay, any specific scholarships you would recommend looking into?
Yeah, so the Eiffel Excellence Scholarship is a big one.
Okay.
That's a prestigious scholarship. And then a lot of the schools themselves have their own scholarships.
Okay.
Like EDHEC, for example, has the EDHEC Excellence Scholarship.
Okay.
So definitely look into what's available from the specific schools you're interested in.
Right. So do your research.
Exactly.
Okay. You mentioned earlier the French student housing allowance. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. So in France, there's this thing called the CA. It stands for Caisse d'allocation familiale.
Okay.
Basically, it's a government initiative that provides financial assistance for housing to students,
Okay.
including international students.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it can really help to reduce your monthly expenses.
And how much do you get from that?
It varies. It depends on your circumstances and what kind of accommodation you have,
Okay.
but it can be significant.
Okay. So worth looking into.
Definitely worth looking into.
Okay. So you've done your MIM, you've graduated.
Yep.
What kind of career opportunities are out there?
So MIM are graduates from France. They tend to do very well in the job market.
Okay.
There's a lot of demand for their skills, especially in fields like finance, consulting, and tech.
So those are the big three.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Okay. And what kind of companies are we talking about? Like who are the big recruiters?
You've got the big consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Deloitte. Okay.
In finance, you've got companies like BNP Paribas.
Uh-huh.
And then in consumer goods, you've got companies like L'Oreal.
Oh, okay, cool. So a pretty wide range.
Yeah, all sorts of industries.
Okay, and salaries, what are people making?
So the average salary range that we're seeing is between 50,000 and 80,000 euros per year.
Okay.
But there's some variation depending on the source and the specific industry.
Okay.
Like one source specifically mentioned that finance grads were making around $88,518 by early 2024,
Okay.
which was a 4% increase from the previous year.
Oh, wow. So finance is still...
Doing very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another source had a slightly lower range, 45,000 to 65,000 euros.
Okay.
So I think that just reflects the different roles and industries that people go into.
Right, right. So if you're specialized,
Yeah,
you might make more.
exactly.
Okay. A lot of our listeners are not from the EU, so what about work visas?
Yeah, that's a really important question.
So France does offer post-study work permits for international students.
Okay.
So you can stay in France and look for a job after you graduate.
Okay.
It's typically a 2-year work permit.
Okay.
It's officially called the APS, which stands for Autorisation Provisoire de Séjour.
Got it.
And it gives you time to find a job, and then you can transition to a longer-term work visa.
Okay.
But there are specific conditions and timelines for all of that, so you definitely want to do your research.
Okay, so you've decided France is the place to be. You want to do an MIM. What's the application process actually like?
Okay, so it's a multi-step process, but it's pretty straightforward.
Good.
First thing you need to do is shortlist the universities that you're interested in.
Okay.
You know, look at their rankings, their specializations, where they're located, all that.
Okay, so you're really thinking about fit.
Yeah, exactly. What's the best fit for you?
Okay.
Then once you have your list of target schools,
Yeah.
you need to check if you're actually eligible. So go through their admissions criteria, make sure you meet all the requirements.
Okay.
Then you're going to need to prepare your documents.
Okay, like what kind of documents?
Your statement of purpose, your letters of recommendation, your resume or CV, your academic transcripts, all that good stuff.
So it's like gathering all your materials.
Exactly. Get everything organized.
Okay.
And then don't forget about those standardized tests.
Right, the GMAT, the GRE if they're required.
Yeah, exactly. If they're required, you need to schedule those, take them, get your scores.
Okay.
And once you have all of that, you can submit your applications.
Okay.
Now, most universities have rolling admissions,
Yeah.
which means they have multiple rounds of applications with deadlines.
Right.
So make sure you're aware of those deadlines.
Okay.
Don't miss them.
Yeah, don't miss the deadlines.
No.
Okay. And then there might be an interview.
Yeah, some schools will have individual interviews.
Okay.
So if you're shortlisted, they'll contact you and you'll either have an in-person interview or a remote interview.
Okay, and then finally, if you get an offer.
You accept the offer and then you apply for your student visa.
And what's the visa called?
So if you're staying in France for longer than 90 days, you're going to need the VLSTS visa.
Okay.
That's the extended stay student visa.
Got it.
And you apply for that at the French consulate or embassy in your home country.
Okay, cool. So that's the whole application process.
That's the gist of it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Huh.
Now let's talk about some of the challenges of actually going to France to study.
Yeah, because it's not always easy.
No, it's not just, croissants and the Eiffel Tower,
No?
right? So what are some of the things that people might struggle with?
So one of the most common challenges is the language barrier.
Okay.
Even if your program is in English, daily life in France is in French.
Right, so you're going to need at least some basic French.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what's the best way to tackle that?
The advice is always start learning French as soon as possible.
Okay.
Like even before you go,
Okay.
you can use language learning apps like Duolingo. You can take some beginner French courses.
Yeah.
And a lot of universities actually offer free French classes for international students once you're there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so take advantage of those.
Okay, so be proactive.
Exactly.
Okay. What about cost of living? We touched on this briefly, but, especially in big cities.
Yeah, Paris-Lyon, they can be expensive,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to housing.
Yeah.
So some things you can do, look for student accommodation,
Okay.
shared apartments. Those tend to be more affordable.
Okay.
You can also look into university housing.
Okay.
And of course, don't forget to apply for that CAF, the housing allowance.
Right, okay. The admissions process itself can be quite challenging.
Oh, yeah. It's very competitive
Yeah.
to get into those top MIM programs.
So what can you do to increase your chances?
Make sure you have a really strong profile.
Okay.
So relevant internships,
All right.
a really well-written statement of purpose, aim for a good GMAT score.
So the GMAT really matters.
It can make a difference, yeah.
Okay. And then finding internships and jobs.
That can be tough, especially if you're not from the EU.
Yeah, because of the visa situation.
Exactly.
So what's the best approach there?
Use your university's career services.
Okay.
Go to networking events.
Okay.
Target companies that sponsor international students.
Okay.
And really understand the post-study work visa, the APS.
Okay. So again, do your research.
Always do your research.
Okay. And then, you're going to a new country,
Right.
a new culture.
Yeah.
So adapting to that can be tough.
It can be a challenge.
Yeah.
So, the French academic style might be different.
Oh, yeah.
The lifestyle's different.
Yeah.
So you're going to need to be open to new experiences.
Okay.
Get involved in university events.
Yeah.
Make friends with local students.
Okay.
Embrace the culture.
Yeah.
And, joining student clubs is a great way to meet people.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the visa and stay back policies.
Yeah. Those can be complex.
Yeah.
So the key is to apply for the right visa,
Okay.
which is the VLSTS for students.
Okay.
And then if you want to stay after you graduate, you need to understand the requirements for the 2-year work permit, the APS.
Right. So again, research.
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. So much good advice there.
Hopefully helpful.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone who is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this is for me,
Yeah.
what are like the top tips for success?
Okay. So tip number 1, choose the right school for you.
Okay.
Don't just go by the overall rankings. Look at their specialization, their reputation in your field,
Okay.
and those accreditations.
Okay, so fit is important.
Fit is crucial.
Okay.
Number 2, understand the admission requirements.
Okay.
Like, do you need the GMAT? Do you need the GRE? What are the English language requirements?
Okay.
All of that.
Okay.
Number 3, really optimize your application and your essays.
Okay.
Highlight your leadership experiences, any international experience you have.
Yeah.
Paint a clear picture of your career goals. Okay.
Get strong recommendations.
Okay.
Number 4, explore all your scholarship options.
Right.
Look at the Eiffel Excellence Scholarship,
Mm.
any school-specific scholarships, and even potential French government aid.
So don't leave any money on the table.
Exactly.
Okay.
Number 5, plan your finances carefully.
Okay.
Make a budget that covers your tuition and your living expenses.
Okay.
Number 6, connect with current students and alumni.
Okay.
Use LinkedIn university groups, get their insights.
Yeah.
Number 7, leverage the career services and internship opportunities provided by your school.
Okay.
France is really strong in consulting luxury goods. Finance. A lot of MIM programs have good ties with those industries.
Okay.
Number 8, learn basic French.
Even if your program is in English.
Yes, it's going to make your life so much easier
Okay.
for daily life, for networking, for your job search.
Okay.
Number 9, stay updated on work permit regulations,
Okay.
especially the APS, the post-study work permit.
And number 10, explore dual degree or exchange options if you're looking for even more international exposure.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so much good advice there.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's all about being prepared.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the guides, the articles. What do people who are actually involved in these programs have to say?
Yeah, let's hear from the experts.
Okay.
So we have a quote here from Dr. Sophie Lambert, who's a professor of business strategy at HEC Paris.
Okay.
And she says, France has truly established itself as a global leader in management education. Our MIM programs offer a really effective combination of rigorous theoretical foundations and practical, real-world experience. The diverse international student body, coupled with strong connections to leading corporations, makes it an exceptional choice for ambitious future business leaders.
I love that quote. She really captures that blend of theory and practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And also that international exposure.
Yeah,
Which is so important.
it is.
Okay, what about someone on the career side?
Okay, so we have a quote here from Jean-Pierre Lacroix, who has experience as a career consultant and former admissions director at ESEC Business School.
Okay.
And he says, choosing to pursue an MIM in France provides students with direct access to a very dynamic and competitive job market with significant opportunities, particularly within finance, consulting, and the burgeoning tech sector. The robust alumni networks of these top schools, along with the embedded internship opportunities within the curriculum, significantly enhance graduate employability, positioning France as a premier destination for management studies.
I think that really highlights those strong career outcomes that we've been talking about.
It does, yeah.
And that alumni network again.
Yeah, it comes up again and again.
Yeah, so important.
It is.
Okay, and then we had those success stories from Letzstudy.
Right.
Which, they're written as stories, but they're based on real experiences.
Yeah, they're illustrative.
Yeah, so what can we learn from those stories?
So there are a few key takeaways.
Okay.
Rahul's story at HEC Paris shows how important it is to prepare for your application.
To, study for the GMAT,
Yeah.
really look to those scholarships.
Okay.
Priya's story at ESACC shows that there's a lot of support available for international students.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so they can help you with choosing a university, with the application process, with the visa process, even with getting loans.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, and then Arjun's story at EDHEC shows that if you're proactive and you engage with the career services
Yeah.
and you use the networking opportunities and even get help with finding accommodation.
Yeah.
You can really set yourself up for success.
So it's all about being proactive.
Yeah, take initiative.
Okay, it's interesting to think about how these MIM programs in France have evolved over time.
Yeah, they have a long history.
They do.
The French Grandes Écoles were actually pioneers in offering the MIM degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to the late 19th century.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, so they have a really solid foundation.
Okay.
And they've been able to adapt over time to meet the changing needs of the business world. Right, so they're not just resting on their laurels.
No, they're constantly innovating.
Right.
Like we saw with Schema, they're offering specializations in AI and analytics.
Right, so they're staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
Okay. And the data shows that these programs are paying off.
It does. Yeah.
So we saw that finance grads are making good money.
Yeah, that $88,518 on average in early 2024,
Yeah,
up 4% from the previous year.
that's a good return on investment.
It is, yeah.
And we're also seeing progress on gender pay equality.
Yeah, that's a positive trend.
It is.
The gap is narrowing. It was down to 9% in 2024.
Okay, so good signs all around.
Yeah, things are moving in the right direction.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what would you say is the overall value proposition of doing an MIM in France?
I think it comes down to this. You get access to these amazing schools.
Yeah, world-renowned schools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the tuition is often more affordable than in other countries.
Hmm.
You're immersed in a really rich culture.
Yeah.
You're in the heart of Europe.
Yeah.
You have access to a lot of different industries.
Yeah.
And the career prospects are very strong.
Okay, so it's kind of like the whole package.
Yeah, it's the whole package.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been so informative.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
You're welcome.
And for you, our listener, as you think about everything we've discussed today, consider this. How might this unique combination of history and innovation in French MIM programs really prepare you to lead in the global business world? It's a world that's constantly changing, so you need to be adaptable. You need to have a global mindset.
Absolutely.
So think about how an MIM in France could give you that edge.
That competitive edge.
Yeah, and explore the programs that, speak to you.
Yeah, do your research.
Yeah, and see if they align with your goals.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it for this deep dive.
See you next time.
See you later.
Bye.